Why do criminal justice systems across the world punish convicted offenders? It is simply a matter of what philosophy they prescribe relative to the crime. None of these philosophies are without their qualifying evidence and detractors. As the U.S. grapples with reforms in its criminal justice system, the arguments behind each philosophy will have to be dissected. Join us in this Liber-Tea episode as we discuss the theories of punishment. If you enjoy true crime, please visit our sister channel, Crime Labs, here. Throughout human history, societies across the world have developed ways of punishing criminals while also ensuring the safety of the public. According to criminologists, there are 5 major types of criminal punishments: restoration, deterrence, retribution, and rehabilitation. The question regarding what ought to be done with criminals after they have been adjudged guilty remains tricky. In the U.S., for instance, where tough-on-crime policies are prevalent, in the past few decades they have become subject to increasing scrutiny. The issue of punishment is of increasing philosophical, social, and political importance. Penology, the practice and the philosophy of dealing with convicts, provides us with several theories that attempt to furnish us with answers regarding punishment. The most basic idea regarding punishment is that when a person knowingly commits a wrong or an offense, they lend themselves to punishment. Most people who advance this notion argue that the punishment should be equal to the crime perpetrated. In short, the criminal justice system must not respond to a mosquito bite with a hammer. Additionally, the punishment must be directed toward those who have committed the offense in question. The following are a few major theories on justice and punishment, including arguments in their support and those that oppose them. Per the deterrent theory of punishment, the main purpose of punishment is to deter criminals from engaging in crime. In this theory, the punishment given to offenders is usually severe to create fear in not only the minds of criminals, but also other would-be offenders. Today, this theory is prevalent in Islamic nations and some Western countries. The object of this theory of punishment is to ensure that the punishment assigned to the offender makes them an example. For instance, in Sharia law, if a person is caught stealing, their hand is cut off. While this punishment is severe, it serves as a powerful warning to other criminals. Likewise, in some U.S. states, a person convicted of a capital offense may be punished through lethal gas, lethal injection, firing squad, hanging, or electrocution. According to John Locke, punishment ought to be subject to 3 legitimate purposes: deterrence, restitution, and restraint. According to the proponents of this theory, every criminal offender ought to be made a bad bargain in the eyes of would-be offenders. Those who are opposed to the theory argue that punishment does not continue to inspire fear once it is done. For example, hardened criminals do not fear punishment. Additionally, it arouses sympathetic feelings toward criminals in the public domain. Retributive justice is a criminal justice theory which proposes when a person breaks the law, they deserve to suffer for it, and that the punishment should be commensurate with the crime. It is important to note that this punishment does not advocate revenge. Retribution is not personal. It is directed towards the offense only. Additionally, it does not entail gaining pleasure from the suffering of the offender and is conducted per procedural rules. This punishment theory contrasts with other purposes of punishment, including rehabilitation and deterrence. This concept of punishment is found in many ancient texts, such as Hammurabi's Code, and is practiced in many modern cultures. The purpose of this punishment theory is to restrain the public from resorting to blood feuds, lynching, and other forms of vigilante activities. The theory also promotes social solidarity via the act of punishing an offender, following the notion that people that slay together stay together. Many societies that have adopted the retributive justice system, like the U.S., utilize mandatory sentencing. Under mandatory sentencing standards, Courts impose penalties in satisfaction with the ranges prescribed by the law. Unfortunately, under these systems, courts have little discretion even in the presence of sufficient mitigating factors. Additionally, when the conviction involves a fine, courts are not allowed to consider the financial standing of the convict. This leads to a situation where a millionaire and a person in poverty are forced to pay a similar fine. Today, most people feel that this system is primitive, as it fails to focus on the culpability and character of the offender. Alternatives to retributive justice include transformative justice, psychiatric imprisonment, and restorative justice. During the last decade, there have been nationwide campaigns in American prisons. Prisoners across the nation came out in protest of the inhumane treatment they are subjected to by the criminal justice system. Under the transformative justice theory, many who advocate for reforms in the criminal justice system believe that the practice of transformative justice is one of the most effective ways of instituting change in American correctional facilities. Transformative justice is primarily concerned with comprehensive outcomes and root causes. Generally, society is used to punitive justice. The practices and philosophies of the transformative justice theory endeavor to create societies without violence, and those that harm punish without creating more violence. Proponents of this theory are concerned with transforming a society where violence is endemic to one where violence becomes something unthinkable. Transformative justice goes to the root of the matter to address the cause of the offense. For instance, in many instances, people who engage in theft do so due to poverty. By addressing the issue of poverty through employment opportunities, for example, it is possible to stop this criminal activity. Concisely, transformative justice seeks ways of responding to harm in ways that do not cause more trauma, harm, or pain to society.